Hey guys, Boston Bruce. And Operation Thunderball has come to an end with an Axis victory. As a score winds up to be 8 for the Axis, 5 for the Comintern, and 3 for the Allies. That's the points there. Japanese actually had 6 of the victory points. Germans had 2 of them. Comintern, well, they get their own. Russia got them all because CCP got none. The United States had 2 and the UK had 1 victory point. They got the African colonialism. They got American technology and supremacy. They had Trump capitalism, thanks to a huge turn by Hambone on his final turn, grabbing a bunch of territory, which also took away, I think it was access to resources for the Japanese on that turn. I had the Winter War, Soviet technology, and propaganda war. I held on to Moscow and Stalingrad. The Japanese had Tokyo, Calcutta, Sydney, Nanking. Germans, Berlin and Paris. And the UK held on to London. Was threatened a little bit early in the game. I believe that was about the final income. It's fairly close. UK, the British put that big push at the end to 43, I believe, 42. The Germans were down to 43. Anzacs were down to 1. KMT actually gained a point at the end. CCP, nothing. France was at 6, and they almost jumped back to world power, which would have gave them, that's a 2-point swing, would have been huge. Myself, I was a few turns away from picking up any more points. All right, I'm going to get into the game a little bit of what happened, the strategies, at least my own strategy. I can't talk about anybody else's strategy, what they were doing. And I'm going to start in Spain. You know, not knowing V4 real well yet, it's a little tough to know exactly how it was going to work out. And I believe most of the units are where they were at the end of the game. My goal in Spain, I didn't really think that the Russians had much chance to win it. So my main goal was make Italy and Germany spend as much money as possible there. And I think I accomplished that. I spent very little, and they actually spent quite a bit, and it actually went quite a while. I don't remember what turn it ended on, but I consider that mission accomplished. And as you can see, Germany never got the point for it either, and there's no way I would have either. So I don't feel too bad about not wasting any time on that over there. Next thing, let's go over to Abyssinia. I believe I helped out a little bit down there with some anti-aircraft artillery or mountain infantry. I don't recall exactly. I'm not great at remembering things specifics like that. But in the UK, if I remember right, they were upgraded a few militia for me in Spain, which helped out. I actually done quite well up in Spain on recruitment rolls, whereas Penja J couldn't hit anything on his recruitment rolls after he won Spain. Which really led to a smaller force there. Plus, I think Global War Enthusiast mentioned it in his video. You know, I like to keep the fighter in an air base, never mind parking stuff in Madrid. But that was that. And again in Abyssinia, I don't know if I was playing a Russia again, if I would lend-lease to the French over here in Abyssinia. And I don't know if I'm the French, how much money I would waste over here in Abyssinia. It's, you know, I don't know. It's a hard call, especially in a new game. It's a little tough to know exactly all the strategies. Like I said, it's been my first game. It was others too. So the veteran in the game was Silk, and you could tell by what happened. Let's go over here to Chinese. So now we didn't have much choice to sign the mutual agreement pack, and they let me run away. The KMT did. I don't know if it's a good call, but talking about Russia with the MRP pack, at the time, I gotta admit, I had forgotten or didn't remember that I wouldn't be able to lend lease to anybody at war with Japan. So I don't know if I would have done it again if I was Russia. There's really no big need to. Uh, Although, at the way the Japanese did grow and wind up crazy with tech. And it's probably a good thing I did, because otherwise they would have came in here. And I had enough to handle over there on that side of the board, with the Germans coming at me like maniacs, which I knew would happen. I played with Panzer J a few times, and I knew what he would do, and he's very aggressive. He's a very good player. And I knew before the game started, I think I talked with Pete, and I says he's going to go for airborne doctrine. That's Chris's thing, And believe me, I had my hands full defending against Chris, and he never really slowed down till very late in the game. And for the most part, like I think Global War mentioned it earlier, my strategy too, and it exactly worked as I had planned, is I left Spolence a bit vulnerable. That's the only place I didn't do a fortification. And I had my punch units up in Leningrad and up in Moscow. And I was going to hit him. That's where I wanted to hit him. And he came right where I wanted to him, and I got diced in northern Belarusia, where as I could have easily took 3 or 4 more hits off of him and actually got 3 or 4 less hits off of me. And it would have made a huge difference. And actually, like I said, the only time he didn't do what I thought he was going to do is I really thought he would come for Leningrad after that battle. And he didn't. And he wound up heading south, which kind of surprised me at first. But knowing how he plays, early in the game, I railed my factory to Transcaucasia because I knew he'd want to go there. I knew that would be one of the spots. Chris would want to probably attack to line Turkey, and I wasn't going to let that happen. And the only way to not let it happen was to have a major factory there that I could pump down some real units. And I don't like leaving a factory in Oral Kursk because it's too vulnerable right there. It's not even a city. So when I had upgraded that one, I got the hell out of there. That was all part of my plan there. Early on in the game, I had some troops amassed and ready to go for Finland, but I didn't feel I had gotten there early enough. And Chris had 2 turns in a row started amassing mechanized units in Poland and Romania. And he was also threatening England really heavy with airborne, and he had Marines. And I looked at the situation and I felt now's the time to go. Because if I wait, he's going to have more units next turn loaded into Poland and Romania. And it's like, he may say, fuck England, and use them airborne and transports coming after me. So I says, now's the time to go. So I had the opportunity. It was easy to take his Navy out because he didn't have anything in position to come in. Also, what was the other thing? He didn't have I had pulled all my units back, so I was able to scorch all these railroads. Hindsight, I maybe would have left more units to defend and built some militia in them territories before he actually started coming. That's one thing I might have changed a bit, but it's hard to say. I wound up at the end, I had units, but, it was getting scary there for a while on what was going to happen. And, I feel at this point in the game, my next buy laid out was, 2 tank destroyers, a couple of Kakushkas, 2 T-34s, and that was going in my factory. I just railed to Spolence. I was going to start pumping out units out of there big time to head towards Berlin and Germany and Poland. I am pretty confident, I could have easily in 2 or 3 turns been all through Romania, Slovakia, taken out Warsaw, West Poland, East Poland. I feel like I would have been all the way to the borders of Germany in 2 turns. 3 turns, I would have been most likely taken out, pretty close to taking out Istanbul. The only problem I had was I was debating. This turn, I was actually moving all my heavy armor and my mountain infantry down into Azerbaijan. Not that I was going to use them to go after the Allies, but I was going to make it appear, at least, if they wanted to mess around, I was ready, because I could still go into eastern Anatolia from there. So that was basically where I was at as far as that. And I never really trusted the Japanese down there. I'm surprised they never really came, but and gave that to Germany down there, because I think Germany gets a bonus down here somewhere. Yeah, southern Iran, so... But, it was a touchy situation. Me and the Japanese basically kind of benefited both of us. I think it did in the long run. It helped me a lot. But, and that's basically how my strategy was through the game and what I did and when. And, when I seen the opportunity and it started getting close on that Trump capitalism, and, I still felt like maybe I didn't have a chance to win, but I didn't want to finish last. So it was like, I need some money. So, and, it was time I was able to get Finland. I had the troops there, able to do it. And, and Sweden was right there too. So, and I was probably going for Norway next turn also. I'm not actually. I wasn't because I didn't have. I didn't feel like I had troops there. I was going to build a couple infantry and leave the T-34s there. Then I would go in some militia. Uh, but that would have been later game strategy. As far as Turkey was, I felt like I had troops, plenty of troops on the. Well, I guess let's see. I'm on the backside of the board, so that would be the eastern half of Turkey. I didn't have stuff towards the west. I needed to transport. Once he was backing out and he wasn't being aggressive anymore, it was pretty simple. I could build my units and I could get ready to go. And I was starting to accumulate some cash, so it was starting to go better. Plus, he had his hands full over here. I'll talk about the Allies in a minute. But I think that's basically everything for me. Like I said, a little disappointed. I would have liked to go on a couple more turns because, I felt that at this point I was finally having a little more fun where I wasn't, on the defensive. I mean, when you're defending against Chris, you're going to be freaking ready because he is just going to keep pumping and pump. At one time, I think we had talked to Peter and he says, oh, no, he's probably, I says, he ain't backing up. He's coming. Sure enough, he came again, I says, that's Chris. He ain't backing up, So anyway, that was that. Now let me talk about Silk over here in Japan. Yeah, I got soaked on that infantry early on to sign that non-aggression. I didn't want to sign it because I felt he was a better player. So if he was offering it, it was probably bad for me. But I was worried because I had heard a lot in TTS about games on TTS where Russia wasn't doing real well. And so I'm like, I don't want to get, I don't want to fricking lose Moscow, How would that look? So I wanted to make sure, if I didn't have to worry about my ass over here, I thought it was good for me. Like I said, I didn't realize about the non-lend lease. I don't give a shit about the KMT. I wouldn't have lend lease to them anyway. But it hurt me not being able to give something to the CCP. Maybe I would have given something to the KMT if they asked real nice, real nice. But again, like Pete mentioned, playing the KMT, I don't like giving free territory away for nothing. I'll leave something there. You're not getting it for free. At least make it a bit of a challenge. And he had a plan. He went for the tech. He got his tech. He had lots of ground forces. And the thing that happened, the big thing that happened about that backing out thing, was the fact once he backed out those units. I forget how it was, but he collected the money from the U.S. for a long time. I mean, he had almost all of China, and he still was getting oil from the U.S., if I remember right. I forget how it was done, whether he took I know when the roll went, and the first attack into China, he attacked, the KMT, yeah, the KMT had already vacated all these territories. They had already moved everything out. So on the first turn that he attacked, the influence roll was just for the territories around here, and they all went KMT. And in one attack, he basically had almost all of China. Yeah, he had gotten Suiyang, I believe, Peking, Hopei, Nanking, Shantung, and Hunan. He got them all except Kwantung and Kwangtung and Yunnan, I believe. Yeah, in one turn. And maybe the second time he took Kwangtung. Yeah, and then it was like he was still getting oil. That's only 2 attacks. And he had all of China. And he set up real well to take Calcutta. And, I don't know. I thought Hambone was doing a pretty good job defending, but, you can't, there's only so much you can defend against. And it was pretty overwhelming, Same thing down in Sydney. Once FCC falls, Anzacs are in trouble too. I thought he did a great job trying to defend them all. Both battles are actually pretty close. in the long run. But I mean, when you got these freaking heavy armor attacking, hitting at 8, I mean, Jesus, and the heavy battleships, it was just, and all the extra cash. I mean, while I'm over here, this is one thing I wouldn't let happen. I can't believe he actually lost a victory point by not having at least militia on those islands. I don't know. That was probably one of the only mistakes he made the whole game. From what I could see. You know, that one I don't understand how he let that one happen. Uh, but I mean, he was getting some serious convoy raiding done to him late in the game. Uh, but I mean, he was going for the Pacific buffer zone. He was set up for it. Like Peter had said, I mean, he spent all his money in Europe basically, and as far as like his play, I think one of his mistakes was when he got his big buy and he bought all land units. It was like, I don't know. I don't think I would ever do that with the U.S. I mean, you're gonna have plenty of cash during the game. I mean, to buy land units when you need them. I mean, I'd do the everybody likes to sail. I'd probably buy 2 mountain, 2 marines, 2 airborne, but and some cheap militia for some of my islands. But I don't think I'd have spent all my money on infantry. Uh, and I think part of it was he kind of gave up when he seen that the Japanese had large ship construction and improved construction, and it's kind of like he just kind of gave up a little bit. I thought on this side of the board, and they did make the mistake over here, which we can all make that mistake. Where he put his navy in harm's way over here. What else was? Oh yeah. Let me go over to the Philippines over here, where he left a destroyer in that transport. And the funny thing was, I was keeping track of it because my father was in World War II on a transport. And that transport, I think, got 4 battle stars. His right here. It was involved in the taking of Dutch New Guinea, Borneo, and Celebes and West Timor. And I think it was also involved in taking Malaya, maybe, or somewhere else, or Cochinchina, somewhere. It was definitely involved in a lot of invasions, which is kind of funny. I'm sure he'll never let that happen again. As you can see, I got my Himalayas, snow-capped peaks. Yep. So that was that. And I mean, watching Hambo move and build ports and move troops and, oh man, the attack on Paris that's around it. I mean, he's a masterful player too. I mean, and kudos to him and Chris both playing 2 games at a time. That is insane. And, I have trouble keeping up with one. And I hope I don't sound like a dick sometimes when I'm asking for recaps of units, but I lose track, especially when you have these huge armies all over the place. And Hambo moves a lot of pieces. I mean, he's constantly moving, setting pieces up for attacks, 2-3 turns ahead of time. Oh, yeah, I'll show my desert. Well, I got it painted up. Looks much better than that flesh-colored thing. But anyway, yeah, it was a great game. And I mean, even the French were everywhere, you know. And the Italians never got in the contest. I think he wanted to, because I'm sure Chris has DAC troops painted up for the Germans he wanted to use. They had their little fleet up there off of Eastern England. I don't know where they were going. I was a little worried he was maybe coming after me for a minute, sneaking in there. But, I mean, he only had 2 infantry. He didn't have any Marines or nothing. But you never know. He's always looking for a spot, too. But it was a real fun game. It was a torrid pace also. Like, I forget how he said how fast we played. Here's my Amazon over here all painted up, too. The river's moving in there. I think that looks really cool. Yeah, other than that, I mean, another thing over here, too, in France, I mean, they were putting big pressure here, but I'm not a fan of 27,000 advanced artillery. I'd rather have 15 advanced artillery, 5 medium armor, 5 self-propelled artillery, a little bit more of a mixture. which is what I tried to do with my armies. I wish I would have got more chances to use my tank destroyers, because I really would have loved hitting, rolling a 3 and taking out a tiger. I mean, that would have been fun. Uh, but I look at it, like I said, it was a fun game. I kind of wish it would have went longer, but, it gets to the point where, you know, unless it's a total blowout, the Axis are not supposed to be able to hang on forever. The game is set up where eventually the Allies or the Comintern would win, or, well, actually they would. They'd be head to head, and they'd be the two powers. Which is probably, if you go long enough, I would think that would happen unless something really bad's going on. I don't know. Over here, I'm wondering. I mean, this looked, not sure what Silk had planned, Looks like he's going for Hawaii, but I don't know. I may have went for the West Coast. And he may have had plans of going for the West. I don't think I'd have bothered with Midway over there. I'd have bypassed it. So I don't know what he had planned over there. I mean, it was fun to watch. Like, I think, I know Pete mentioned it too. I don't even know if it was in his recap, but to watch him move transport, set up land units and Marines for different attacks with aircraft and boats, ships. I mean, it was like, it's hard. It's so hard to play against a guy that's that good, And the same with Hambone. I'm watching him. I told Chris, not Chris. I told Peter that too. I says, I play with you guys, Chris and Silk and Hambone, and I feel like I'm really at a major disadvantage, because I watch these guys play, and I think they're so much better, We'll find out how I could do with USA next turn. Hopefully, Japan won't be like they were in this game. That would be fucking scary. I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to be building 10 infantry in San Francisco because I'm gonna lose it. But anyway, it's been great playing with these guys. Like I said, they're a great group of guys. A lot of fun. I mean, the shit we give each other when we're texting back and forth is hilarious. It's even funnier than some of my videos. But anyway, myself, I'm probably going to play a turn or two solo just to see what would have happened, because I have a pretty good idea what most people would have done anyway as far as this. I'm not too worried in the beast, but I want to see what would have happened. Myself, if I was Chris, I thought of him. I think he would have moved a few troops down to Romania, but maybe even tried to take back southern Ukraine, take out that T-34, build a couple. I'd come out and attack a little bit anyway. At least try and slow me down. I'd have probably sent the Tigers home though, and left the mechanized infantry there, and you could rail 4 of those babies all the way back into Bavaria. They'll do some serious damage down there in France, but. And he still had there was still quite the massive army. I think in Paris, he still had 20 infantry, I believe, and 4 or 5 AA guns. He had Panzer Grenadiers, advanced mechs. Paris was far from done. And Chris had first turn. I mean, his troops in Western Germany, they were a little out of position. He was a little out of position, I thought, having all his troops in Western Germany, because he really can only go down into 1-2. He can only get to Alsace-Lorraine, which isn't really that good. And he actually didn't have a ton of mechanized units. He had a lot of ground units and aircraft, but not a lot of mechanized units. He had too many mechanized units here at the end on my side. And he should have had probably more infantry there, which would have helped to defend better. I mean, he's great when they're attacking, but to defend, he probably should have had been a half and half split for his counterattack here. But anyway, the game comes to an end. Axis victory, well played too. Like I think was mentioned. I mean, Chris even said it in his video. He was getting it from every end. I mean, the amount of pressure the Allies were putting on over here was amazing. I mean, in Africa down here, he never had a chance, to ever get going. Plus, there was enough here where Japan couldn't keep coming this way either, enough land units. So it was never really in danger over here. I felt like I was getting a little bit in danger over here. That's why I was building my little bit of a Turkish invasion army, but also an Iranian defense army. But like I said, this game comes to an end. I think we're not playing again until the early January. We'll be starting up another one from Russia with Love. My name, my idea. I almost wanted to play Russia again, but I want to play everybody at least once, and I want to have everybody be my partner at least once. I'll be playing. I am playing the USA this turn, boy. And my goal is not to lose my transport and destroyer in the Philippines. That's a big key. Also, not to be scared of the Japanese. Edo place. And kudos on this attack at the end of the game by the KMT. I like that. It's about time they came out of the woods there. And Panzer J will be moving across the board, and he will be playing Japan. Silk will move from Japan into Moscow. He'll be playing Joseph Stalin, running the Comintern in Mao. Germany will be played by Hambone. And the UK will be played by Peter, Global War Enthusiast. And that should be quite the fun time. We look forward to entertaining you guys some more. And good luck to all you YouTubers out there playing right now. Boston Bruce signing off.